welcome back to your hour. Eric Litweiler from MHA joins us now, and as we have said before, every week MHA is Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas, and it's MHASCK.org.
.org is the website, that's right, yes.
So you wanted to talk today a little bit about your lunch and learns.
Yeah, this is, we've always offered free speaking services at MHA just because the educational component is such a huge part of how the organization was originally founded back in 1957. It was part of Mental Health America, which remains to this day an educational agency. And so education's really always been a big part of what we do. And so we offer that free like most of our services are. But it seems like in the last couple months, I've been getting a lot of calls from companies who want me to come in and talk to their staff about any number of mental health related topics, whether it's just kind of, a 10,000-foot view of mental health in the Wichita area, or, I want you to talk specifically about how the pandemic has affected mental health, or, hey, we want to volunteer, come talk to us about your volunteer programs. Or literally, I came here straight from Davis Moore, who wanted me to talk about their United Way funding programs because they're having their employee United Way campaign. So any number of mental health topics, but I've been getting a lot of those requests recently, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and I can see a lot of different organizations benefiting from those types of talks because they might have different issues facing them, or they might have employees that have issues that are facing them.
Yeah.
And it's just a general great way to get information out to the public.
It is. We talk a lot just because we have so many really great corporate partners here in the Wichita area, and so we talk a lot about how mental health impacts businesses and companies' productivity and how it affects their bottom line. One of the things I said at the talk with Davis Moore was just substance use disorders alone, on average, a company is going to spend about $3,500 per employee per year on paying for what amounts to untreated substance use disorders. So when you tell those kinds of numbers to a company like Davis Moore, or we've done lunch and learns for Six Meridian, we've done them for Building Controls and Systems BCS here in town, we're scheduling them with Redwood Group, we're scheduling them with Flight Safety. Those kind of numbers, when your CEO happens to be in that talk, and here's a number like that, their ears perk up. I would just say that.
It gets their attention.
It does, absolutely, yeah.
Well, there's when you have someone in your company who might have a substance abuse problem,
Sure.
Productivity is going to suffer, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's always kind of dancing on the head of a pin in a lunch and learn event because usually it's HR or maybe the marketing team, and they're bringing 25 employees into a conference room. They're buying them lunch, and so I'm trying to talk while they're enjoying lunch. And so on one hand, it's like you want to reach the CEO to let them know how their employees' productivity is affecting them. On the other hand, you're mainly talking to the employees in the room, and so for them to hear that, well, my company has to pay $3,500 a year for me, they don't necessarily care. They're an employee; they're not paying the bills.
Right.
So one of the things I try to talk about is, if they weren't paying that $3,500 for untreated mental illness concerns, they could be paying you a higher salary. They could be giving you better benefits. And so then you're kind of tying it back to something the employee might actually care about.
Right.
But whatever the topic is, in fact, I'm meeting with Flight Safety Thursday or Friday of this week, and we'll talk a little bit more about specifically what topics do you want me to address. And I'm very forthcoming. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not a psychiatrist. But we've got nearly 200 people on staff at MHA. So depending on how in-depth they want to get, I might go down to the children's division and grab someone, or to the seniors division and grab someone. And, hey, you're talking about this topic on this day. And there's a few people at MHA that I trust to do that. Not everyone is comfortable in front of 200 people, but some of us are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it makes a lot of sense to grab an expert if you're going to talk about something. And it's nice to know that MHA will do that.
Yeah.
If a company really needs that type of information, it's nice to know that you offer that information for free.
Absolutely.
And that's a tough price to beat.
Well, I hope the companies don't tie our prices to the value that we provide. Like, oh, they're free, it must be crap. Well, no, I think we do a pretty good job. But no, you're absolutely right, because at the end of the day, our feeling really is that education is how you break down the stigma of mental illness. And so the more we can get in front of employees and companies and the C-suite of Wichita and just remind them of how mental health is impacting their day-to-day, how much it's impacting their bottom line, how much they can expect their coworkers to be dealing with things like PTSD and depression and anxiety. All that's incredibly helpful. We've been doing that for, pushing 65 years now. And so that's hopefully valuable. And if we can just get a few more people every year to be willing to raise their hand and acknowledge that, maybe I need some help. Maybe I'm not the only one dealing with this, because that's what we all think. I must be, one of the things I talk about is you put two people in a room and I'm not talking about my mental health, and so you assume you're the only one dealing with it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're not talking about your mental health, so I think I'm the only one dealing with it. And when you multiply that dynamic times 640,000 people in the Wichita metro area, you've got a situation where every single one of us is living with it, but none of us are talking about it, and so we all think that we're the only ones.
Well,
that's not a sustainable pattern.
Well, and the other part of that is they're not talking about it because we feel like it's something to be ashamed
Right,
of.
that's exactly right.
And it's not. It's something that if you're having an issue, you need to address it.
Right.
You need to find the resources to address it.
Yeah.
And that's where MHA stands.
Yeah, and so we're really hoping that our speaking services just are one more way of opening up that topic and making the conversation that much more transparent, that much more common, so that water cooler conversations can be more than just, the party you went to Saturday night over the weekend. It can also be about, your son dealing with bipolar disorder or your depressive episodes or whatever it is. We can make those conversations transparent, and when we do that, it frees people up to talk about it and be willing to get the help that they need.
Right, and that's the important part.
Yeah.
And I know one of the programs that you have, and one of these days I want you to talk about it specifically. I think you have before, but we need to address it again. Is the senior
the senior companion? Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
I think that's a great program.
Yeah, seniors aging in place and the isolation that they face and the mental health issues that come along with that is a huge issue. I'll make a point to talk about that next week.
Okay, that sounds good.
Absolutely.
Well, Eric, it's always a pleasure having you here.
Well, I appreciate
you
it.
joining us today.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to reach out, like I said, the speaking services are free. They can visit the website. They can give my office a call, whatever works best.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in just a couple minutes with Dr. Charles and Dr. Charles' guest, Dr. Sheila Love. Sheila? Okay, Shayla. We'll get it.